The Memoirs of Helen of Troy.
I came into the world as a whisper of the gods. My father was Zeus, the king of Olympus, who descended to my mother Leda in the form of a swan. From the moment I was born, they said the stars shone brighter, as if announcing my arrival. My mother cradled me with a mix of awe and dread, for my beauty was more than mortal, a gift and a burden bestowed by the heavens. Growing up in Sparta, I was unaware of the power I wielded. My golden hair caught the sunlight like a flame, and my eyes held the hue of the Aegean Sea. Everywhere I went, whispers followed, echoing with admiration and envy. Children of my age wanted to play with me, but their parents often pulled them away, fearful of angering the gods. I learned early that I was both cherished and isolated. Despite the reverence I inspired, my childhood was not without joy. My twin brothers, Castor and Pollux, were my protectors, their love for me boundless. We would race through the Spartan hills, their laughter filling the air as they indulged my every whim. Yet even their devotion could not shield me from the weight of prophecy. The oracles spoke of a destiny that would shape nations, a beauty that would ignite a war. At night, I lay awake, wondering what it all meant. Was I merely a pawn of the gods, my fate already written in the stars? By the time I reached marriageable age, my beauty had become a legend. Men from every corner of Greece and beyond arrived in Sparta, bearing gifts and pledging their loyalty. My father, King Tyndareus, was overwhelmed. He feared that choosing one suitor would provoke the wrath of the others, leading to bloodshed. It was the clever Odysseus who proposed a solution. All the suitors would swear an oath to protect the chosen husband of Helen, ensuring unity among them. With this pact sealed, my father chose Menelaus, a king of noble heart and steady hand. I tried to find contentment in my marriage. Menelaus was kind and doting, yet I felt a restless yearning within me. Sparta, with its rugged landscapes and disciplined people, was my home, but it did not stir my soul. I longed for something I could not name, a spark of passion or a sense of purpose. This yearning became a quiet ache, one I buried deep as I fulfilled my duties as queen. I bore Menelaus a daughter, Hermione, and tried to silence the voice within me that whispered of something more. The turning point of my life came with the arrival of Paris, a prince of Troy. He was unlike anyone I had ever met, his presence magnetic and his words intoxicating. He spoke of a contest among the goddesses, how Aphrodite had promised him the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. That woman, he said, was me. At first I resisted his advances, bound by duty and loyalty to my family. But Paris was persistent, his charm relentless. He painted vivid pictures of Troy, its golden walls, its vibrant people, and a love that would transcend all. It was as if the gods themselves wove a spell around me, and I found myself unable to resist. Leaving Sparta was the hardest decision of my life. I kissed my daughter goodbye, tears streaming down my face as I stepped onto the ship. As the shores of my homeland faded into the horizon, I felt both exhilaration and dread. I was following my heart, but at what cost? In Troy, I was received as a queen, though not all welcomed me. Hecuba, Paris's mother, regarded me with suspicion, and whispers of my betrayal filled the air. Yet, Paris's love shielded me from the judgment of others. He adored me, and for a time, I believed I had found the passion I longed for. But the peace was short-lived. Menelaus called upon the suitors' oath, and 1,000 ships set sail for Troy. When the Greeks arrived on our shores, I stood atop the walls, watching the armies gather. Guilt gnawed at me as I saw the faces of men I had known, friends and allies now turned enemies. The war dragged on for years, each day bringing fresh horrors. I saw Paris's bravery on the battlefield, but I also saw his flaws, his recklessness, his pride. The love that had once felt like destiny began to feel like a chain, binding me to a fate I could not escape. When Achilles fell and Hector was slain, the spirit of Troy began to wane. The Greeks devised a cunning plan, a wooden horse left as a supposed offering of surrender. Against Cassandra's warnings, the Trojans brought it within the city walls. That night, as the Greeks emerged from the horse and set the city ablaze, I stood in the palace, paralyzed by despair. The screams of my people filled the air, and the acrid smell of smoke burned my lungs. I searched for Paris, but he was gone, slain by an arrow. Menelaus found me amidst the chaos. His eyes were a storm of rage and longing. I expected his sword to fall, to end my life as retribution for my betrayal. But he did not strike. Instead, he seized my arm and declared that I would return to Sparta as his queen. Back in Sparta, I was a shadow of the woman I once was. The years of war had taken their toll, and I bore the weight of countless lives lost. Menelaus forgave me, or so he claimed, but our marriage was forever changed. I lived in the palace, surrounded by reminders of a past I could not undo. In quiet moments, I thought of Paris and Troy, of the choices that had led me to this point. I wondered if I had been a pawn of the gods, my actions guided by their whims. Or perhaps I had been driven by my own desires, reckless and unyielding. Now, as I pen these words, I see my story not as one of beauty or betrayal, but of humanity. I loved, I erred, and I endured. The name Helen of Troy will forever be tied to war and ruin. But I hope that within these pages, you see the woman behind the legend, flawed, longing, and ultimately human.